Joining us now, Dr. Rajeev Jayadevan and Dr. Ishwar Gilada. Thank you both very much for being with us. This is the call-in show, so we'll get a couple of viewers calling in and asking questions. Until we get our first caller on, Dr. Jayadevan, should people be panicking about this? Is there a real fear that it could spread very far and wide in our country? I ask this because so far the numbers are very restricted.
There is no need for the general public to panic about this. It is important, however, to address the people who are at high risk, and we know what segment of society is at high risk at this point. These are people who have multiple sexual partners, and these people must be immediately alerted so that they do not spread the disease any further. What we want in monkeypox control is to make the virus reach a dead end. If it reaches a person who has no sexual partners or no intimate partners, it will reach a dead end. But on the other hand, a person who has multiple contacts, in whom have other multiple contacts, it will become an endless circuit, and that is how this virus has reached all these countries.
Okay, we've got a question, and Dr. Gilada can take this from Samat in Rajpura. So Samat, please go ahead with your question.
Okay. Hi, this is Sanat from Rajpura. Sir, I just had a question, right? So, the pandemic has made us all so
what?
Mentally disturbed, right?
Right,
so
yes.
Is this monkeypox also a disease like that, like COVID?
All right, so let's get an answer, Dr. Gilada. It's a common question. Should we be as worried about monkeypox as we have been about COVID?
Samat and Shom, thank you very much for having me on the show. Basically, because the monkeypox has come at a time when COVID is going on, everybody started equating this with COVID. There's no similarity between COVID and monkeypox. And secondly, WHO doesn't call it STD, and therefore people think that it can be transmitted through many other ways. But there has not been a single case globally anywhere that somebody got this monkeypox through other means, from fomites, from touch, from respiratory fluids, nothing. So all this is, when you say close contact, is a very close sexual contact. So I think people should not go on the lines of COVID. It is not going to be spreading like COVID. It is a slow disease, like any other, like HIV. It took 10 years to build up that pandemic. It will be a big pandemic. It will not be pandemic like in COVID. Within 1 or 2 months or 5 months, it became a very big pandemic. So I think we should have a clear-cut agenda here, clear-cut demarcation that monkeypox is another STD. It will spread mainly STD-wise. For example, there is a syphilis and HIV. They also spread from mother to child. They also spread from blood transfusion, but we do not call them non-STD. It will remain STD, but accidentally it can spread to other ways also.
Okay.
Primarily it is STD.
So, Dr. Jayadevan, would you share that this is essentially a sexually transmitted disease? Those who aren't involved in very close or intimate sexual relations with others who may have actually had many partners, they are relatively safe?
Yes, Dr. Gilada is right. This disease is transmitted through the act of sex. At the same time, it's also transmitted with forms of physical contact that are not equated with sex, which is why it is difficult to put these things in boxes, and which is why it's also common for health communicators to say that it is spread through very close, intimate physical contact. So I think that's a better way of defining it, because when we start classifying things and when we start splitting hairs, sometimes the bigger meaning is lost in translation.
Okay. Dr. Gilada, are you in favor of some sort of a vaccination program being announced? Again, there's a reason I ask this. The last batch of Indians, for example, who were vaccinated for smallpox would have been vaccinated by what? 1980 or so. So there is 79, right? So a large number, I mean millions of Indians, the majority of our country, I would suggest, is not vaccinated. So do you believe that this vaccination needs to be reintroduced?
See, currently there are no effective antivirals except 3 of them which are licensed in USA. So current best bet is monkeypox, smallpox vaccine. It's a dually effective. One is to prevent and one is to also treat. It's a therapeutic vaccine also. So if monkeypox case is diagnosed and within 2 to 3 days you start a smallpox vaccine, the person recovers faster. Currently, I'm sitting in Montreal. Here they are providing monkeypox vaccine to those people who feel themselves they are at risk. The problem is that all rich countries will procure such vaccine and nothing will be left for the southern half of the population globally. So India being a vaccine powerhouse, a pharma powerhouse, they should start immediately vaccine manufacture for monkeypox. There's a very good medium available called MVA, modified vaccinia Ankara, and that can be powdered vaccine and can be transported anywhere in the world, and then they can reconstitute and give it.
Right.
So India should start, Indian pharma companies and vaccine companies should start manufacturing not only for India but for the rest of the world.
Dr. Jayadevan, a question from Srinivas from Bengaluru. Srinivas, go ahead.
Good evening, Vishnu. Good evening, doctors. Thank you for doing this program. My question is, what precautions we should take to avoid monkeypox?
Okay, Dr. Jayadevan.
Yes, it's a very good question. For the general public, there is no additional precaution that you need to take. But for individuals who have multiple sexual partners or who have close intimate contact with multiple individuals who belong to multiple social circuits, yes, they must be very careful not to pick up the disease either by means of physical contact or by sharing linen or bed sheets and so on that could potentially have been used by such a patient. So to put things in very simple terms, if you don't belong to a network, if a person does not belong to a network that is along these descriptions, there is no need to be concerned at all at this time.
All right, Dr. Jayadevan and Dr. Gilada, thanks very much for joining us, taking a couple of questions there from our viewers. We like to keep our viewers informed, and we will continue to focus on monkeypox and its outbreak across the world. I think the bottom line, don't panic, not at all. Stay tuned.